Please note that we have mailed the results and the presentation, and the same are also available on the company's website. In case you have not received them, you can write to us and we will be happy to send it over. To take us through the results and answer your questions today, we have the top management of BLS International represented by Mr. Shikhar Agarwal, Joint Managing Director, and Mr. Amit Sudhakar, Chief Financial Officer. We will start the call with a brief overview of the quarter gone past and then conduct Q&A. With that said, I will hand over the call to Mr. Shikhar Agarwal. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to our earnings conference call of Q1 FY22. Hope all of you and your family are safe and in good health. Let me now give you an update on the global travel scenario. During the first and second wave, revenue from visa business were muted, but with aggressive vaccination drives from all major countries, the travel business has started showing traction with the opening up of US, Europe, Russia, China, UK, Canada, etc. All these markets are opening up in a phased manner with specified COVID norms. People are willing to travel after fast-paced immunization drives globally. According to an American Express poll, 56% of people are ready to pay for travel, 86% of the Indian respondents and 70% of the Canadian respondents want to plan a trip with either their friends, family or partner. Countries globally are incentivizing travelers with subsidies in travel stay and other innovative schemes to revive travel. Also now, vaccine travel is taking over as countries like Russia are providing vaccines to the foreign tourists. So in general, the mood for travel is upbeat and we hope the immunization program will speed up the travel momentum. The effect of this development is yet to flow in our revenue substantially. But we are seeing a good traction with essential visa requests coming in and our next quarter results should see revenue addition from the visa vertical, other things remaining the same. Our financial performance of the company, despite a challenging global scenario, we have managed to post healthy performance during the quarter. Our revenue during the quarter stood at 180 crores, up 2.5x year-on-year. EBITDA stood at 18.8 crores, up 5x year-on-year, and PBT at rupees 20.8 crores, up 4.5x year-on-year. The revenues during the quarter were mainly contributed by the consular, citizen, and banking correspondent business, which have already started operating at pre-COVID level. The shortfall in revenue from the visa business was compensated to the major extent by higher revenues from our other segments of the business. On the profitability front, we have realigned our expenses in line with business operations and share of additional services have improved significantly in the last few quarters. So we expect improvement of margins with the resumption of visa services and countries opening up their borders. Travelers are now trying to minimize physical interaction at the visa application centers by opting for convenient services such as mobile biometric, premium lounges, prime time submission, courier, etc., which is definitely a moat to our business. On the new business front, in QY FY22, in the state of Uttar Pradesh, we rolled out 10,000 citizen service centers, which would provide 360 G2C services covering all state departments on behalf of Uttar Pradesh government. We were also awarded a contract for e-Mitra kiosk for Rajasthan for 5 districts, including Jaipur, Alwar, Ajmer, Jodhpur, and Nagaur, in which we have already launched an online portal for operators wherein a mix of G2C and B2C services are available. On the domestic front, we are utilizing our network in Tier 2 and Tier 3 regions by initiating assisted e-commerce services. We have partnered with noted e-commerce players to provide last-mile delivery in semi-urban and rural areas of India, wherein customer acquisition, delivery, and realization is a challenge for these giants. Talking about the balance sheet, it continues to remain strong with a zero debt and cash and bank balance to the tune of 304 crores effective this quarter. We are constantly at the lookout for relevant acquisitions, opportunities adjacent to a line of business. In a couple of cases, we have found the right candidates, but the valuation did not justify the acquisitions. We are wary of the fact that cash on books is increasing and we should be able to come with you with a specified plan on how we shall put that to use shortly. Thank you. This is all from my side. I now hand over a call to Amit for updates on the financial performance.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me take you through the financial performance for the first quarter of the financial year 21-22. We reported a revenue of 178.5 crores and healthy increase of 242% YOY and 23% QOQ, mainly due to increase in revenue from non-visa businesses. The revenue during Q1 FY22 were contributed by consular, citizen service, and banking correspondent businesses, which have started functioning at pre-COVID level. At EBITDA for the quarter stood at 18.8 crores compared to EBITDA of 3.2 crore in corresponding quarter last year and 10.1 crore for Q4 FY21. Higher EBITDA was achieved mainly due to increase in revenue and cost optimization, and this in spite of an increase in employee costs. Even after a decline of around 4 crores in other income, the company generated a PBT of 20.8 crores for Q1 FY22 as compared to 15.6 crore in previous quarter. PBT margin stood at 11.4% in Q1 FY22 versus 10.2% in Q4 FY21. PAT stood at 20.3 crores in Q1 FY22 against a loss of 80 lakhs in Q1 FY21. PAT margin in Q1 FY22 was declined QOQ, as you could remember that during Q4 FY21, company had received a tax credit of 5.6 crore from UK government, and there were reversal of tax provision of earlier quarters. As I conclude, the key takeaway is that BLS has a unique business model, and the performance in this quarter is clearly indication of the fact that the business is not just dependent on the visa business, and other services are increasingly contributing higher revenues. We believe once the travel around the world starts, the incremental revenue from visa business will propel the financial performance in this fiscal. I would now request the moderator to open the call for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask questions, please press star and 1. The first question is from the line of Akhil Azari from RoboCapital. Please go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, Akhil, please go ahead.
Hi. So, according to the Q4 FY21 con call, the management had mentioned that we'll be doing numbers, revenue figures close to 2019, and with the numbers out for Q1 FY22, it looks like you're on track to do such figures. I just want to know, does that provide you with any visibility for revenue figures in 2023, 2024? Any revenue projections or growth numbers that you could give us?
Yeah, thanks, Akhil, for this question. See, as we discussed last time, that the world across the globe, boundaries are, borders are opening up. We have seen encouraging results. Governments have started giving visas for certain categories. We've already seen the appointments for those categories are full. They are being cautious right now. So we have seen numbers coming up. I think in the next few quarters, visa numbers should come, more. There is a huge pent-up demand. There is a revenge travel that is expected. Definitely, first quarter gives us encouraging results, wherein the visa numbers were not there that much. Going forward, we expect the revenue to be in addition to this revenue, whatever we have already achieved. Talking about 2023-24, definitely, we feel the revenue figures will be at a different height with our existing organic business and also with the new business that is expected to come into the company.
Okay, fine, great. My second question is that during your latest management interview, you had mentioned top 3, that the BLS International among top 3 international companies in the passport and consular services. So I just want to know which are the other 2 companies that you're competing against?
Correct. So we are the only Indian company in this business globally. Other company, there is 2 companies. One is a company called VFS Global and another is a TLS Contact.
Okay, fine. And my last question, regarding the Punjab government and UP government contracts, could you just tell me the tenure of these contracts, and after the contract expires, can you renew it with the government?
Correct. So there is always clauses in the tender for extensions. Right now, Punjab government contract is for more than for 5 years, and UP government contract is also for 5 years. So whenever the contract ends, there is a lot of clauses for extension and also renewal. I don't know exactly how we can renew, but there is clause for extension, and then there is a rebid, definitely.
Oh, okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants who wish to ask questions may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Mukesh Kiswani, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. I would like to know the revenue stream for the different verticals, if you can share that information.
We normally have one segment, which is visa and allied services. But if you see overall, we do visa and consular services in the current quarter was about 160 crore, and the other this Punjab and business correspondent business was around 18 crores or so.
And second question that I would like to know is when would the revenue from the other tie-ups that you have had with Amazon and Flipkart and other, the recent one with the Singapore government on the certificates, when will that income start flowing in?
Correct. So see, we have, as you know, we've tied up with the Singapore-based company for digital health certificates. So as and when Singapore government allows travelers to come in and go out of the country, the revenue start coming in on that aspect. Regarding our tie-up with different e-commerce players that we have done, we are deploying our offices across India, as we said. In UP, we've opened 10,000 offices. Slowly, we have started realizing some revenue out of those. We've started some services. So as time progresses, I think revenue should start coming in from these new services.
The last question on this. So for the next financial year, what is the portion that you expect from these two new areas?
See, these new businesses are in a very nascent stage. So if you see as a percentage, they have to double. 100% growth needs to be there in these. But if you are looking at the government to citizen and the existing banking correspondent business, there we are seeing a traction of around 20% growth over the previous year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to participants that you may press star and 1 to join the question queue. The next question is from the line of Rajiv Venkatesh, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. I have a couple of questions. What is the realization that we are getting from UP and Punjab? I think in the last con call, you were unable to quantify on that.
So basically, the model is different in UP and Punjab. Punjab, it is a government contract wherein the government is providing us the centers and we are providing the people and the technology to provide these services. So realization, we have not taken out per application realization how much we are generating. In UP, the model is different wherein only technology is provided by us. Rest, we have tied up with 10,000 village level entrepreneurs where we are giving them a share of the commission of the revenue that is generated. So this is the model that we operate in different states in India.
So I think last con call you said like in Punjab you are getting 6 crore per month. So if you can quantify what is the amount in Rajasthan and in UP?
Correct. So see, Punjab contract we are getting, as we rightly said, this is what we are getting right now, 6 crore revenue every month. In UP and Rajasthan, the contract is also per application based, and as we have rolled out the services, it will take some time to the number of applications to become sizable. So we do not have an exact number how much we will generate out of these. As we introduce more G2C and B2C services, our yield from each application is going up. So I think we will get more visibility in the coming few quarters how much revenue we will generate. But the good thing about these contracts is that there is no expenditure for our company apart from the technology platform that we are deploying in these states. So people are using our technology platform to provide these services, and we will get commission on each transaction.
Okay, sir. Sir, I have another one question. This is with regard to the Singapore partnership with to provide a digital health certificate. Is it only exclusive to Singapore, or since we since we work with other countries also, so can this be rolled out to other countries also? So I'm just looking from the revenue vertical. Can this be a separate revenue vertical for us?
Correct. So that is definitely true. So the thing is that this company is recognized by the Singapore government right now. So they are eligible, whoever gets these health certificates are eligible to do entry and exit out of Singapore. So as and when we are looking at different countries and different players who are already been authorized by the governments of the respective countries, so definitely there's a big revenue upside also in this division as and when travel opens up.
Okay, sir. And the final question is on the Spain, sir. Did we renew our contract with the Spain government, or how is the current situation now?
Currently, the contract exists at the end of next year, and as all the contracts are either getting a service charge increase or contract extension due to COVID, we are also in the process of talking to the government on the same lines.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants who wish to ask questions may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Vivek Goel, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. As you explained in the opening remark, the visa services has not started. So the QOQ growth that we see from 150 crore odd number to 180 crore we have reached. So is this growth entirely driven by non-visa business?
Correct. So definitely, as we in Q1 the revenue from the visa business was not very much. It was negligible. So as we go along from Q2, we will see increase in revenue from the visa business definitely.
And the Q4 versus Q1, the growth has come from consular services business all across the world, where we provide services in passport renewals and attestation and other services for the embassies. So that has grown in this quarter compared to Q4 of last.
So this growth is driven by volume or driven by the value-added services that we are offering?
Both have been growing, and that has given that 23% growth in the quarter.
Great, sir. And can you give some guidance on what is the status of visa centers? When do you expect them to open? Any idea?
Yes. So see, as we speak right now, we are seeing very encouraging results from countries all across the world like Russia, countries in North Africa like Morocco, Algeria, in UK, in Gulf countries. There has been a lot of traction, a lot of demand, wherein government has allowed certain categories of visas to be accepted at our center. The demand already is more than the supply, so the appointments are already full for the next few weeks in those categories, and governments are actually putting a capacity constraint right now. So as and when they open up different categories, we are expecting a demand to come in, because people are wanting to travel. They have been in lockdown for the last 1.5 to 2 years. Now they want to get out of their homes, they want to travel, and also a lot of countries are incentivizing travels, like providing subsidies in their hotel expenditure or in different schemes they are giving. So we definitely feel in the next 2 quarters travel should pick up.
So, sir, pre-COVID, our quarterly revenue run rate was close to 200 crore, and without visa business, which was the biggest division of our services, we have reached to 180 crore. So can we safely assume that once visa business is close to pre-COVID level, we can easily add 70-80 crore more from here?
I think you have to look at from the angle that consular service business has grown over the period. So the difference is not there, but yes, about 40 to 50 crore per quarter visa business which is got affected. So technically we could have done more than 220 crores if visa business would have been at pre-COVID level at that stage.
And then the same addition will be there, or because most of
the addition and the revenue.
So as and when these governments allow travel, these numbers we'll be able to touch these numbers. we are very confident because with this pent-up demand which we anticipate, these numbers should go much higher once travel opens up.
That's quite encouraging, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for the positive.
Thank you. Participants who wish to ask questions may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Ankur Jain, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. I'm trying to understand what competitive advantage we have in last mile delivery arrangement, what we entered into with Flipkart, and why we have entered into that space. I mean, that space is quite different from the space we are as of now.
Correct. So, Ankur, basically, I'll tell you the reason is that we already have set up centers across different states where we have one work. For example, UP, Punjab, Rajasthan. Now in UP we have opened 10,000 centers wherein people are already coming up for us for the government services. You know, it is outsourced to us around 350 government services in UP. So people are already coming to us for these services. Now these centers are in tier 2, tier 3 cities, you know, across different states of India. So we are, there is a problem of last mile delivery that is happening, for these big e-commerce giants wherein we already have the reach. So we just have to, this is all going to be an incremental revenue that will flow in. You know, we are providing assisted e-commerce wherein people can come to these centers. They're already coming to these centers. There is always a big footfall for these government services. So they can also come to these centers for these additional services like e-commerce services we are offering.
So what is the arrangement? So Flipkart would deliver the product at your store and then the customers will pick up the product and
so
make some commission. That is what the arrangement is?
Correct. So people will be, we will be assisting the people to do the shopping online through our systems, and the delivery will be happening as per the agreement with the customer at our centers or their houses. And we will get a commission from these e-commerce companies.
So customer would be ordering through your app, you are saying, or they will order from Flipkart but like in Amazon also there are many times there is an option to pick up from some store.
So they will be ordering the product through our system.
Okay, got it. And how much revenue we are forecasting for next couple of years from this particular segment?
See, we do, because since this is a new segment, not only for us, even for the e-commerce player, this is something new that we have started. Right now, we know there's a big demand in rural areas for all these, things, example, phones or different shopping materials. So we don't know exact numbers, but we definitely know the potential is huge, in this sector also. Going forward, as in when we get some numbers and we will have more visibility, this will only add to our bottom line since we do not have to incur any additional expenditure for this.
Got it. And just one follow-up question on the cash balance. So, now we have 300 plus cash. So what is the plan? Last quarter also you told you were looking for some kind of acquisition. So whether now we have almost concluded anything or the management has decided to give some kind of buyback or maybe dividend?
See, we have been aggressively following up and working on acquisition targets. Unfortunately, because of COVID, things have slowed down a little bit. But the intent is to, if you have in Shikhar's speech, he has talked about that we are looking at in this financial year something to get close. But our whole intent is to use that cash for acquisition and for new tenders which are going to be a much larger size ones. If we win, we will require some fund for that. At the moment, the dividend policy is being there. As per that, we are taking this call. And hopefully, post-COVID situation, we can take a call on how to utilize the balance funds. But first is to look at acquisition, which we are seriously looking at the moment.
Okay. Thank you. There is nothing from my side now. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of VP Rajesh from Banyan Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for the opportunity and congratulations, Shikhar and Amit. Question is on the cash. how much of it is in Dubai versus the Indian entity?
So, Rajesh, currently we have about 250 crores in Dubai, and the balance, about 48 crores or something, is in India.
Okay. And any update on the money that we are expecting, we are yet to receive from the Punjab government? Any update on that?
Yes. Rajesh, so definitely, I think as we have told during the last few quarters, there was at 1.300 odd crore outstanding, and we have received more than 75% of it. Now only exact amount, 67 crore is outstanding from the government, and we are performing very well, and the money is expected shortly. Our management team, including the MD, is right now on the ground, so we are expecting the money to come in shortly to our books.
Okay, so can we expect that it will be in the bank by, let's say, September 30th?
See, we cannot give any particular date, but as we told you that out of 300 crore, we have already recovered 223 crore, 67 crore is pending. So that money, we are on the ground right now working towards it. So we expect the money to come in definitely within this financial year.
Okay, all right. And then on the business side, what is your sense, Shikhar, of the activity level? Like, meaning if normal is 100%, where would you grade current activity levels at?
So, if I understand your question, Rajesh, you're talking about which part of our business we are concentrating on?
The visa processing business. Let's say if normal is 100%, then, are we at 50% or lower or somewhere in that range? That's what I'm interested in.
So visa would be, I think, around 10%. Around 10% of the entire revenue right now, because since visa numbers are now coming in, we are doing that revenue. But important point, Rajesh, right now to note is that, in the next 2 years itself, there is an opportunity of $1.5 to $2 billion in the visa business. Globally developed governments in the European space and in North America, with the Canadian and the UK government, they are coming out with the global tenders for visa outsourcing in the next 2 years. So, and also there are a lot of European governments. So, there is a big opportunity for us as a company right now to grab certain percentage of these tenders. We already had experience of working with all these governments in different phases of the company. So now they know us, and we stand a good chance to grab certain market share of these contracts.
Got it. No, that sounds wonderful. And my last question is that in this quarter, what percentage of revenue came from the consular services and value-added services related to that?
I think probably from the consular service would be 65 to 70% of the total revenue, and rest would be 10% of the visa business and 20% of the G2C and 15%. Yeah, from the correct other businesses. So I think around 65%.
Visa and consular together is around 85%.
Yeah.
Visa and consular together is about 85% of this quarter, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. And if I have more questions, I'll get back in the queue.
Sure.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prashant, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations on a good, excellent set of numbers in this trying condition. Most of my questions have already been answered. I have just one request, 2 questions basically. Has the management and the board kept in mind the treated, or else, cash and the bank, the 300 crores of funds can be utilized for shareholder return or anything?
Sorry, you were not clear with the question. Can you repeat the question?
So my question is that, we have 300 crores of funds, for which the management is actively scouting for a bolt-on acquisition. Is there a timeline by which it has to be done, or it's open-ended, we keep on continuously evaluating for that?
No, it is first of all not open-ended. As you know, last 2 years COVID was hit, and we had the opportunity for some acquisitions, but physically we were not able to travel to verify. So for us also, this is 15 years of hard work that we have generated this cash. So we do not want to deploy our resources just like that, but we are definitely, because of COVID scenario, there are companies in the visa outsourcing counsel service space that are up for grabs at attractive valuations. So we are looking at them. Also companies in banking correspondent and citizen service space also are there. So I think there is not an open-ended timeline, but we want a judicious utilization of our funds. That is what we are looking for.
So, in other words, is it safe to assume that acquisition is highly probable in the current fiscal year? Else, the management will explore options of better deploying of this fund.
Correct. Our intent is to utilize our funds within the current financial year.
Okay. And the next is just more of a request. Now, since we have multiple lines of business and these are quite different from each other, like visa and counseling service are different from banking correspondent to the last slide. Is it possible for going forward to give a segment-wise or vertical-wise numbers so that investors can have a better view and understanding of the business?
Thank you for this question, but I just want to also specify that even though we have different lines of business, the model at the core remains the same, wherein we are collecting upfront money from the citizens. So be it the visa counselor business or the citizen service business or the banking correspondent business, the model of the company is to collect upfront money from the citizens or the customers for providing these services. So this is the same model across board. And Amit, you can answer the question on the segment.
So currently, all these businesses are being combined together as far as the management is concerned, and they look at the consolidated numbers as of today. But yes, with this suggestion, we are being exploring, and if that works out, then we may create an MIS according to this.
Thank you, and wish you all the best for the coming quarters.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants who wish to ask questions may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Mukesh Kiswani, who is an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thanks, first of all, for giving me the opportunity again. Just a few small points for us to know exactly how the things will move forward. On this health certificate, what would be a typical charge that you would be getting on issuing each certificate?
So the charges are different according to the countries of operation. For example, for Singapore, if we are working for different country nationals, typically the charges are around $10 that we will be collecting.
And what is, for just an idea's sake, what would be the number of travelers who will be using this facility? Based on Singapore, loads that are there?
Since this is also a new product, as you know, that the entire global travel market is a customer for these kind of products. So right now we have introduced this. Let us see how many numbers start coming in, but definitely we are expecting some healthy numbers to come in from this product.
And would this be restricted only for a short time, or is it a long-term thing?
I think we do not know currently the policies of the government because they are changing because of COVID scenario. But at least for the next couple of years, I feel that these kind of things should exist, which will anyways be only an incremental revenue for us. And our base revenue is from those products which we are already generating.
Okay, now coming back to the visa and consular service, since you have mentioned that the visas were not really up to the mark, can you tell me, just for an operational point of view, do the consular and the visa services work from the same centers, typically?
Correct. They work out of the same centers.
So would it be logical to say that if the visas start coming in as before pandemic, the margins and efficiencies of these operations would increase?
Definitely. I think that is very, very safe to assume that as in when we get more number of applications, we are utilizing the same existing centers, so margins and profitability should increase for the company.
Yeah, our break-even has come down with this COVID. When we have looked at our costs, we have got it down to a level where I feel once your numbers start coming in, our margins will improve in the coming quarters.
Okay. And the last phone call, you had mentioned about a contract with Portugal government where you were charging 35 euros or something that you mentioned. Is there any big contract that...
Hello. I think...
Seem to have lost the line.
Yes. If you want, I can answer that last question also. As I think I've already answered it in previous questions, that we are looking at a big opportunity of around $1.5 to $2 billion with multiple governments in the next 2 years. So we are working on that. I'm hopeful of grabbing some market share of that.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of BP Rajesh from Banyan Capital. Please go ahead.
My next question was regarding the number of transactions we processed in the current quarter, or the last quarter rather, in the visa and consular service. Can you share that number?
Oh, sorry. Rajesh, currently I don't have the numbers. I can share with you once you send it to me.
You can share. I think we can put it on the exchange.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I think what will be helpful is if you can just put the number of transactions processed in Q1, Q4, and last year Q1, so that one can get a sense of how the number of transactions is going up, etc. Sure. And Amit, you were talking about that the break-even has come down, and I'm sure you don't want to disclose the break-even number, but can you at least give us a percentage by which it has come down?
See, earlier, as you know, pre-COVID, the whole infrastructures were there when we were doing high volumes. But during the COVID, what we did, we revisited our costs, especially on the employee cost and the rentals. And we have practically have reduced all those by moving to a smaller place as well as renegotiated the rentals. So my gut feeling is once you see the numbers coming back, our fixed costs is anyway there in our results, where we have taken care of the fixed costs at the moment. Any further sales which comes in will straight away hit our bottom line because our fixed cost has now been taken into account. But if you want to just look at what we have got it down to was about 5% we have reduced on our fixed costs, what we were earlier having it, approximately 5 to 6%.
Mm-hmm. And in the variable cost, how much has that come down by, if at all?
Variable cost has been on the same line. That has not moved much because those go very much in line with the revenues. So if you see the results also, it has been moving around 70% of the cost, which is normally around that range, 1 or 2% plus minus.
Okay. My next question was on the staffing side. The sense we get by talking to some other folks is that that's a little bit of commoditized piece unless until one really gets to a certain scale. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that business? Are you looking to add more through acquisitions, or you think that can generate? Is that currently a profitable business, and what can be the profitability in that business?
Correct. So Rajesh, definitely we are very, very bullish on this business. As we speak, we acquired a company called Sarfin a couple of years back, in which we are generating 20% return on investment, 25% CAGR growth is happening. As we speak, we have won some contracts with some new banks and also are increasing our reach within the State Bank of India, wherein some new codes have been allotted to us. So we definitely feel this is a business which is going to grow, and we are going to generate healthy and continual margins in this business, because it is also a business wherein a certain area is allotted to you within a district or a state, wherein people have to come to your center to process those applications. So it is also a semi-exclusive kind of a model, wherein going forward, we are quite confident that we will grow as a company by adding more banks, increasing our reach with the existing banks, and we will become one of the top few players in India in this business also.
So, what were the revenues from that business in this quarter?
We are right now not separating the revenues from citizen service and corresponding business. So 15 to 18% of the revenue of the total is coming from these businesses. But as we move forward, definitely revenue from citizen service as well as banking correspondent services should increase.
Okay. And is the margin in the business and the bank correspondence business higher than our visa and counseling services right now, or how would you characterize it?
So the margin in these businesses are in the range of around 15%. And Rajesh, another distinction between what you are talking about businesses in banking versus this being exclusive with SBI, the competition is very limited because they don't give us a CSP in our location where they have some other. So technically it's a very little semi-exclusive contract, so margins are being protected. That's why.
I see. No, that's a good point. I forgot about that. That's a good point.
That is important.
And my last question is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking compared to the other banking correspondent business versus ours, that is a major difference.
Right. So just going back to the counselor services, what would be the average age of your current contracts with different governments across different geographies? What would be that, age of the contract life which is remaining in those contracts? Weighted average.
We have been running some contracts we have been running for 10 years, some we have run for 7 years, some for more than that. So we have different contracts that expire at different periods. And because of COVID, as we speak, we are in extension of a lot of these contracts. And as we spoke, there is a big opportunity of $1.5 billion that is going to come over the next 2 years. So I think this is where we are standing right now.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I would encourage you to have that number. And for the simple reason, for investors, it gives them a lot of confidence that this revenue, has a very long tail. That meaning it's an annual recurring revenue for, let's say, 5-6 years, or whether it is 3 years or 4 years. So I think to the extent you can start disclosing that weighted average number of years, I think it will be very helpful because your business model is very strong. But I think if we get these kind of additional data points, it will just corroborate that hypothesis. Thank you. That's all I have.
Noted your point. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajiv Jain, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yes, please.
Mr. Rajiv Jain, you may go ahead with the question.
Hello.
Yeah, Rajiv.
Hello.
Yeah, Rajiv, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. My question is,
Mr. Rajiv, if you're on a hands-free, request you to use the handset. Your voice isn't very clear.
Okay, now I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes. My question is, as you've tied up with e-commerce retailers, does these services is restricted to 3 states only, Punjab, Rajasthan and UP? Or if yes, do you have any plan to expand it to other states also?
Correct. So Rajiv, first of all, these services are not only restricted to 3 states. We are also planning to introduce these B2C services, which include these e-commerce services in our different states wherein we are working for different banks also. So definitely this will be expanding. At the same time, we are talking to different states also to introduce similar G2C services in different states. So as and when we start those government services, we will also take these services along.
Okay. And the second part is, as you have tied up with ICSC, you have one ICCR contract also, Indian Culture for Customer Relations.
Correct.
So what is do you see the prospects in terms of revenue from this segment?
So definitely this is something new which has been done for the first time, outsourcing in this field. also by the RCCR. So we feel that, as and when travel opens up, there is big conferences happening hosted by the Government of India, and a lot of travelers who come in, and we are mandated to provide assistance and good networking opportunities with dignitaries, which are mostly leaders of state and different delegations. So we will be assisting them with their needs within India. So I think definitely the opportunity is there. This is the first time the outsourcing is done. So as and when travelers start coming into India, we will see some revenue also to be contributed from this part of the business of the company.
So revenue is on basis of commission or a fixed amount of fees per annual basis? What is the revenue terms?
There is a service charge that we will collect per person basis, the same model that we have with BLS. So this is the same model wherein all our businesses work. So revenue is nowhere fixed. We will get money on the per person basis.
Okay, right. Thank you. That's all from my side. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Raju.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harsh Patel from Alpha Alternatives. Please go ahead.
Oh, hi. I had two questions. So firstly, you said you have 10,000 centers in Uttar Pradesh. Now, I wanted to understand what is the due diligence that you have done because you have 10,000 centers and you have 10,000 entrepreneurs who are running the centers. So in terms of liquidity and their what happens if they decide to quit? Your reputation goes on a toss. So what is the thinking behind that and how will you manage that?
First of all, we work on we have advance payment from these entrepreneurs. So we work on a wallet basis wherein our wallet first is recharged, that is of BLS. So they put in the money first in our wallet and then as in when the service is provided, the wallet is utilized. So we always have some extra money from them, in our wallets, which is, so it is a model wherein first they deposit the money and that money is used. So this is not a very, very, different job. So these are some various government services that they provide on our behalf, in these centers, which are outsourced by the government of UP. So these are typical services wherein people do not have a lot of free way to change things. So for example, if you come and apply for a birth certificate, they will input the date of the applicant and still, we are, as you remember that as judgment is done by the government, whether to give the certificate or to approve the certificate. So we only have the power to input the data and that is what also we do in this kind of contracts.
Okay. And my second question is what Rajesh asked you about the cash balance that you have and you're transferring it to Indian entity. I missed that point, so can you just repeat it?
So, see, all entities are independent and we get money from FZE for the services which BLS International provides on an arm's length basis and dividend which is declared by the foreign entities which we receive because we are the 100% shareholder of those companies. So that's how the money is being received in India.
So what is the amount of money that is going to flow? You are saying some 223 crores is to receive.
So around 50 crores is lying in India and 250 crores is in subsidiaries.
So that is going to flow in Indian entity by the year end?
No, we will, as we spoke, we will see what structures are possible for acquisitions. So there is a need.
Transactions are arm's length. So they have to come on the basis of the services which we are providing to these companies.
So, but for any acquisition that you have to do, that would be done from the holding company, right?
Yeah, it can be done by a holding company or if it is an international acquisition, it can be done by the subsidiary also.
Got your point.
So structure can be worked out for that requirement.
Okay. So that's it from my end. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We'll take that as the last question. I would now like to hand the conference back to the management team for closing comments.
Thank you everyone for making this call today. We are satisfied with the performance of our company during the quarter, considering the global pandemic situation. With our ability to adapt to every situation, well-diversified revenue model, and the opening up of borders in a phased manner, we are confident of showing good momentum in the coming quarters. Thank you. This is all from my side. Stay safe.
Thank you very much.